You got into the safety business because you wanted to protect people, but somewhere along the way, the job started controlling your time, your schedule, your priorities, even your income potential. What if the expertise you've built over the years in the field can give you something more? More freedom, more control, more ownership of your future. I'm Sheldon Primus, the author of 7 Steps to Starting a Profitable Safety Consulting Business and the host of the Safety Consultant Podcast, with more than 350 episodes helping safety professionals become consultants and grow their career. Consulting changed my life. In fact, I'm a full-time RVer, and one consulting contract paid for my home I live in today. Now, I help safety professionals build their own consulting practice through bi-weekly coaching calls, accountability, and personal guidance. But this program isn't for everyone. Start with the Consultant Readiness Audit at sheldon.coach.
What if everything we thought we knew about safety was just interference? From the host of the Rated R Safety Show and the founder of Safety FM comes the complete Signal Transmission Trilogy, now available in one powerful edition. Safety, in my opinion, the book that started the conversation. Safety Mutation, where the boundaries of culture, systems, and belief begin to break. And now, Safety Transmission, the final piece of the signal. For the first time, all 3 books are together in one volume. The Signal Transmission Trilogy, Complete Edition. This isn't just about compliance. It's about consciousness. It's about decoding the way we think, lead, and live, inside and outside the system. Whether you've been following the signal since the beginning or you're just now tuning in, this is the version to own. Search Signal Trilogy on Amazon or visit safetyfm.com to get your copy now.
Sheldon Primus.
Welcome to the Safety Consultant Show with Sheldon Primus, where we blend safety smarts with business brilliance and a pinch of Sheldon's signature wit. Whether you're a safety pro, a fresh-faced consultant, or just safety curious, get ready for a show that'll educate, entertain, and elevate your safety game. Let's dive into the art of consulting with your safety Sherpa himself, Sheldon Primus.
This episode is powered by Safety FM.
Hey, welcome to the Safety Consultant Podcast. I'm your host, Sheldon Primus, and this is the show where I teach you the business of being a safety consultant. And you are listening to me on terrible audio, so don't hang up, don't go. It's actually a special episode for me for 300. And I got interviewed by Dr. J. Allen of Safety FM. I'm currently traveling, so that's why I have to use this terrible headphones. So I am not going to go on any further than this. Listen to this special 300th episode. And I'm not going to do an outro because of this terrible mic. I'm literally on the road rescuing my RV right now, bringing my RV back home. So I've been driving for 4 days straight. So I am going to go ahead and give you guys a regular episode later. But right now, I just got to focus in on getting my RV back to Florida. So that means thank you for listening to the show. Thank you for everything, gang. Go get them.
Okay, so let's see. I don't even know where to start because I will tell you we have not been in a room together in regards of recording something. It's been years. I mean we talk, of course, but it's been years since we've sat down and done something proper. So just in case, Sheldon Primus here. Round of applause. So he's back from, am I allowed to say where you were?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So he was down in Mexico for the last tidbit. It's been probably we're close to a year. We're like 10 months since the last, well, Not counting last night, of course. It's been like 10 months since I've seen you in person.
Yeah, that's been a while because honestly, I don't get to Orlando as much as I really need to. And just honestly, I love me some Jay. And when I knew I was coming in here, I was thinking, well, maybe I should bring something and, just to make sure that, he's got everything. And for you listening, it's like if you went to your local news station and you're invited to do a story and you're like, hey, can I bring my webcam? And do I need to bring my wireless mic to help you? I don't need to do anything here. You got it all.
Well, no, I mean, if you want to bring stuff, I don't mind. I always look at it like if somebody has like a preferred method on how to record stuff, I always look at it from the standpoint of let's do it that way. Like, I'm really spoiled when it comes to certain stuff because I hate using anything outside of this microphone. But let's not get into those deep waters because that's going to be.
You got a preferred mic, and if you're put into an inferior mic that was from a news station, you'd be like scoffing at it.
I don't know if it's that serious. So
it's
okay,
good to see you, my friend.
So it's great seeing you, but many years ago, we kind of did this thing where we met. I found you online. We talked a little bit. You were doing your safety consulting stuff, which you're still doing now, of course. Of course, things have changed significantly since then. Additionally, you're still doing your show. You're still consulting. But it was interesting because I remember going to a event for the ASSP, might have been ASSE at the time, and you were doing a presentation related to OSHA under Trump.
The future of OSHA. And I've had the underlining was the Donald Trump era because I had to pull people in, so it wasn't just future of OSHA. I had to do the Donald Trump era, and that helped, push them into the little seminar. So when you got to hear me speaking there, I literally would just break down just what to expect with OSHA. And I'm doing it right now, actually, because now we have history of 4 previous years of Trump. So now we can go back to that and see, all right, so the president, when he was 4 years ago, did this. This is what we could expect. So, that was really kind of cool.
Well, that's what I'm going to ask you because I know that we're doing this on a Sunday and won't get released until Tuesday. But so tomorrow's the inauguration, so we don't know what the outcome's going to be. So we're future release, but back in when it's all said and done. Are your expectations in regards to the OSHA stuff to be similar to what it was before?
There's a couple of facets that have changed that is going to make a little bit actually more dramatic. So the biggest thing that was the change was there's an overturning of this case called a Chevron deference. And basically what that Chevron deference was the regulators were just allowed to use their expertise in order to craft some of these rules, right? So Chevron, that case turned out where the Supreme Court sided with the regulators and said, all right, you guys do the actual rulemaking. And now with that being overturned, what'll happen is someone could very easily just say that I don't understand this kind of vague rule. And that's usually what everybody says about government. The rules are just so vague. So now you can literally say, I don't understand this vague rule. And with the Chevron deference, if the regulator, EPA, DOT, OSHA, comes back and says, well, our expertise tells us this is the way it should be. And now the actual court, because you could sue them and say, I don't believe that. So the court will make a decision and says, all right, well, this heat stress standard that isn't out yet, I don't think that we should make this heat stress standard apply at 95 degrees. There's no real reason for that. And the judge will say, let's make it 110 degrees, something ridiculous, right? We could do that. And honestly, the court now can make the decision where the regulators used to. So what I'm expecting is that the regulators are going to just do what they have to, the easy stuff. The things, if you're going to be in oil and gas, or if you're in construction, or if you're in manufacturing, in medical, you're going to see OSHA like usual. It's going to be just, they're going to try to get their job done as quickly as they can, put their head down and don't make any waves. Just go ahead and go through work as if they're a regular person trying to get through the day. Your compliance officers are probably going to do that mode because that's what they did 4 years ago, or 6 years ago, 8 years ago, right? So they're going to go right back into the self-preservation mode, and you're not going to see any new standards. You're not going to get your heat stress. You're not going to get anything unless there's a big, like if you have another, for you guys listening, especially if you're overseas, Texas has a way of blowing stuff up. After a little while, Texas gets bored, and one of their companies are going to just start blowing stuff up so you can do emergency management. So if one of those things happen, then OSHA might get into some process safety management rules or something like that. But barring anything ridiculous or pandemic or something,
don't even say that jokingly.
Don't even want to start that, right? But barring anything crazy, then you're probably going to have OSHA putting their head down. They're not going to get involved in too much compliance enforcement, but they'll do compliance assistance stuff. So if your company's close to getting voluntary protection program, those people who are so good that they just get OSHA to say, all right, we'll lay off for 3 years, then we'll check you out, and then you do your thing in 5 years and get recertified, and you're just that good in safety, we can leave you out. This is the time to get VPP. And all you people that service people who are VPP that just don't even think about regulation, they're so far above regulation that, we laugh in the face of regulation because we're better than that. But those people now are going to be your clients, your best clients. Those are the people that you're going to have to lean on during these time periods. Everybody who's just looking for OSHA compliance, they're not buying your service right now.
So let me ask that question. So do you look at this now more along the lines of things will change where people will be wanting just to do the bare minimum opposed to going above and beyond? Because, if your standards are this, and you have a low bar for standards, and I know that some people will say, well, that's bureaucracy, and you're just adding more crap to something that doesn't need more stuff to it. What will make the most line level of sense in regards to what's going on? Will they go above and beyond, or will it just be like, okay, we can get away with the bare minimum, so let's do that?
Yeah, it depends on the driver. So the organization will each have its own driver. Those companies, you already know their history. You guys been working for them, listening, so you know if your company is just barely making it past OSHA compliance. Those companies aren't going to do diddly squat for the next 4 years because they don't have to. But those of you that know that your company has been trying and you're just steps away from making a new change where you're now doing job safety analysis, or you just decided to purchase a program to help you get your paperwork in line so that you could now start looking at your trends and data related to injury and illnesses. You guys now, you're going to be a little bit different, because what OSHA will look like to you is you'll be able to get resources from your local OSHA officer and your compliance officers, because they're going to be in compliance assistant mode. So you now could get someone to show up at your safety days and start talking to your people about that. You're going to also be able to negotiate with them in those whenever you get an OSHA fine. For those of you that are not familiar with the U.S., you could talk to OSHA a little, and you could do what's called an informal conference, and you just kind of state your case. OSHA will listen to you, and then they'll reduce your fine if they can. That's what you should be doing every single time. If you do get a fine, do not miss this. You want to do an informal conference, because OSHA is incentivized and will be incentivized the next 4 years to settle up with you and possibly vacate citations. So that's what I'm looking for the next 4 years is go ahead and flex your little wings and flex your muscles to OSHA and try to get a little bit extra for your organization, because they're going to be willing to negotiate with you.
So do you see, similar to how what happened with the IRS under Biden, where there was a whole bunch of new people that got added on, do you see any new inspectors being added into OSHA under Trump? And I know that I'm asking you for crystal ball, futuristic, and I'm just going based on what you've seen, because this is something that you've studied for a while.
No, actually, there's no crystal ball here. It's trend. Every cycle you'll see it from Republican to Democrats since the 70s. So it's no crystal ball. It's actually what's expected. So during this time period, what will happen is you're going to see the regulation itself just be stagnant. So the expectation is business is going to take up where regulation left off. So the people who have been crying over months and years that OSHA has been too strong and they're stifling business. So now at this point, the mindset's going to change, and it's been every Republican administration back to 71 when OSHA became a thing. So every Republican administration does compliance and assistance, and every Democratic administration does more compliance enforcement. So you're going to see at this point, again, going back to the original question, that you're going to get your OSHA agents honestly just trying to make sure they do the minimum. Unfortunately, I say it that way, but the minimum is still saving lives. It's still making sure people are protected. It's staying within the current rules. And it's not going to go a little bit beyond the current rules traditionally. So that's usually what you're going to see. You're going to see that compliance assistance. Enforcement, though, for those of you that think you could get away with anything, you can't, because you have another person to think about. Litigation. That's my prediction. Litigation is going to go crazy, because now, and again, this is me crystal balling, not history. OSHA history. This part, me spitballing. So think of it. If a person feels like no one is going to protect them at work, they get hurt, they're going to need to pay the bills in a short amount of time. So the best way to do that is to go with someone who's a lawyer who's going to tell you, I'll work for free until we get our money. And they don't know it takes 3, 4, 5 years. They see the commercial and they think they're getting money like right now. So what'll happen is litigation is going to go up. They're going to be incentivized to sue people. So now the best way out of that, as far as an employer, is, well, let's go beyond OSHA compliance. And now we could stop being sued. So what'll happen is OSHA now, or at least people who think OSHA is too strong, they're hedging that the market is going to self-correct. There's going to be so much litigation that is going to force the actual employer to take care of their worker. Not an OSHA regulation. I got to stop this flow of money that's going to the lawyer, and that's going to help the employee. So that's the bet that's being hedged right now. And let's see, we got 4 years to see if it's going to go through. We already know Trump is going to be a lame duck president, in the sense that he's not going to go for re-election. So therefore, he can do things differently. So that means if he wanted to, he could actually be aggressive with worker protection. So we don't know. It stands to see where the administration is going to go. But historically, they're going to go into compliance assistance. And then this particular history with the with President Trump during this past administration is you're going to see acting positions. And that's another tricky thing.
So I remember years ago, there was a conversation of the person that has the highest ranking inside of the organization will be held accountable for the safety of the organization. Do you see that still being in place as we move forward?
No, that would be called the Injury Illness Prevention Program, IIPP. Never call it I2P2. For some reason, people get, really touchy about that in California, like I2P2. And I tried too, because I wanted to be cool, say, I'm going to help you with your I2P2. And they're like, we don't do that here. So what will happen is, or could happen, is you're looking for a combination between OSHA and DOJ, which they already have an agreement that they made several years ago. So it would be cases in certain conditions, and it has to be legal. You'll find it in the Field Operation Manual and the Act. But the legal framework, if you would end up being where you then would have a duty, and they call it the general duty clause. You have a duty to protect your worker in cases that OSHA themselves don't even have rules on. It's the you know better rule, and everybody calls it the 5A1, which is in the act. So the you know better rule is going to have to get expanded to you know better, and since you know better, we're going to make this a specific type of violation. Instead of a 5A1, it's going to actually be an egregious violation. And then the terms of egregious now will have to expand, and that's an actual legal term. And if that happens, it's jail time. So it's possible.
So as you look at this, what impact is this going to have in some of the stuff that you do for work? Because remember, you have the OSHA compliant courses stuff that you were doing for a period of time. Yeah. You still do the safety consulting stuff as well. So how will this impact your business? At least what is your expectation as we speak today?
Yeah, and so just like every cycle, you have to, Democrat to Republican, Republican to Democrat. So now I'm in the cycle again. I have to change my services. So now my services are going to be more, instead of mock OSHA audits, I'm going to get a reduced amount of those. It's really going to be like the process safety management, oil and gas. I'll get a couple of probably medical facilities that want me to do that, manufacturing. So I'm going to focus that service to those industries. But then whatever shortcomings us consultants would have with the missing clients that are OSHA compliance only, what we're going to end up having to do now is we're going to have to look for a driver. And generally that driver is going to be related to environmental, because environmental still is going to pack a punch, but it's not going to be the same as before. But then the other driver that we're going to actually see is worker satisfaction. If the workers are going to work for you and they're going to want to work for you, intrinsic value, meaning they love working for you because it makes them feel good about what they're doing. So that intrinsic motivation, if you could, as a safety consultant or someone like that, say my services can now make someone feel better about working for you, that equals they're working harder, they'll be engaged, less injuries and illness, but just so happens they're going to give you more production. So we're going to have to offer production-based services. So generally what that looks like is we're going to end up looking for how can we shave time for some people's activity. How can we make sure that they're going to get better quality when they input their data for work? And so we're going to end up doing training, really, is what it'll boil down to. A lot of that business that we're missing, that we won't get in compliance assistance, we're going to actually have to go towards training and get that in there somehow and tie value training to a driver. Somebody has a license that they need to get renewed. Now your value training goes towards that license cycle. That's a driver that gets you some salary or some income.
So are you looking at this now as you have clients come in and are taking a look around? Would you encourage them to do the VPP?
Absolutely. Yeah, because it's a win-win for them. It's a win-win for safety. It's a win-win for you as a consultant, because what will happen is anyone who's ready for voluntary protection program, VPP, they're already past OSHA compliance and all the compliance stuff. They're looking at ANSI guidances. They're looking at the ISO 45001 and 45003. They want to be able, and for those of you that don't know, it's International Organization of Standardization, ISO. They have a guidance for safety management system, 45001, and then a guidance for how would you manage psychological safety on a business practical level is ISO 45003. So now if you get trained yourself to be an implementer or someone who could be an auditor, that's going to be how you as a consultant or you as someone who's looking for a job, you get your ISO certification as an auditor, an implementer, or whatever, you pivot and focus on those companies that are going to be looking for that next step. They want to get ISO. They want to get VPP because they're also going to be people who can spend money for you. The people who are just thinking of OSHA compliance, think of it. They're your local, roofer. They're pretty much the local guy who doesn't really understand safety and health, but all of a sudden their business is enough that they're able to have 100 workers. Those are the ones that are really going to be not giving you the money and the attention that you would need to survive during this next few years. And it's a pivot. That's really what it boils down to. It's a pivot.
So as you're looking overall at the whole aspect, is there something that us as, just say, average workers inside of an organization that we're not looking at that we should be looking at? Something out of the ordinary where it might be, okay, everybody's looking right, but take a look left here for just one brief moment in time.
Are you going to ask me to give away my secrets?
Of course. That's why you're here.
Is this what this is about? He's probably out there, he's going to record this. He's going to listen back to it beforehand, and he's going to start buying stock.
Of course.
Yeah, absolutely. There's something that you should be thinking of that, it's like when you're out in nature and you're always, everybody's looking one way and you're thinking, oh, that's where the nature is. But the nature's like laughing at everybody because it's behind them. The thing that you're looking for right now is you actually, as an organization and even as individuals, I'm convinced that this is the generation of AI. And if you are implementing any kind of service, especially, and you can incorporate an AI component, do it. If you're offering a product and you could do an AI incorporation, do it. And I know it's not normal safety and health talk here. However, it's going to be an everything talk. AI right now is going to help us grow exponentially in our actual everything, in our culture, in our careers, in our technology, in our education, because the information is coming back to us in a way that it already has years and years and years of data points to draw from. So now the conclusions can be more, they could be something you could build a product, a solution for. So I believe right now the thing that's in the background in all of our minds is we know technology is going to be big, but we can't wrap our head around it because there's gas prices and food prices and everything else that's wrapping our attention in the change of administration. After that stuff goes down, you need to look at what is technology doing, all that stuff. I'm even thinking cryptocurrency, which you guys don't know, but I was one of these people who was buying Bitcoins when Jay's laughing because he probably knows the story.
I remember the going out story.
I was literally buying Bitcoin when it was $50, and I've paid for movie tickets with a special service. I would get the Bitcoin, I would exchange the Bitcoin for like redeemable things, and I got movie tickets and dinner and all that stuff, and then I would replenish my Bitcoins, and it was like $100, and I was like, man, I'm gonna wait till it gets down to 50 and then I'll buy it. $200, I'll wait till it gets down to 100. It's always coming down, and you guys know the story. Now we're up there to whatever it is now. I can't look anymore because of the trauma.
If you want to, I can tell you because we track it here all the time. Let me see. I can probably find the numbers for Friday. Hold on real quick.
See? So you guys know right now that this is my justification to get our special Dr. J to purchase some sort of therapy for me.
So on Friday, so I'm giving you Friday numbers.
Friday.
Bitcoin climbed on the day up over 3%, flirting right around $100,000 a coin.
You just confirmed I have paid for the most expensive pizza ever.
For sure. Yeah. So let me, I'm not trying to do that to torture you, but it's interesting because I've had my conversation with my oldest daughter several times about your Bitcoin thing that you had told me before. But I look at some of the stuff that we're talking about here today, and I recently, a few episodes ago, I did an interview with Dr. Matt Law, and he's been doing research with AI, and he's trying to see how it's going to move forward and change the industry. But a big component that he spoke about quite a bit is you're only as good as the information that you put into it.
Yes.
And so, of course, a lot of people had questions on how would that work. As we look at this, do you believe, and it has to be a belief question, which becomes extremely difficult, that essentially AI will replace your local safety person?
No, I think it's got to be a little bit of both. And I think AI is going to be a value team member. So the thing that AI is going to be dependent on is our eyes and ears. So unless you start incorporating APIs, the application programming interfaces with video footage, and then the live video and audio becomes everywhere, now we've got an actual problem there, because now it's starting to see the eyes and the ears. It's going to be missing the sights. It's going to be missing the smells. That's the senses we have. So it's until all 5 of our senses are going to be replaced by AI, they're not going to replace us. However, the integration is, yes, you need to check the data set that's coming back, but I believe we're first generation. And second, third, fourth generation of AI, why do they need to check data sets? Because we're going to be giving in that input of, you gave me the wrong data over here. Like when I first started with AI a couple of years ago, I asked it to tell me about OSHA and OSHA's jurisdiction. It came back with the OSHA books of maritime, construction, and it came back with general industry. No ag. So it didn't know agriculture was part of OSHA's jurisdiction 2 years ago. I put that data in and say, you forgot 1928, the agriculture standard. That data correction is now in their system. Think of all of us doing that. So first generation AI, absolutely, we need to check this thing out. But next generation after that, it's going to become easier and easier for that data to become where we could depend on it, because we're putting in those changes. So I believe that that is going to, whatever the Earth has learned right now from, the Big Bang Theory, if you believe that, to right now, I believe now that growth period is going to be exponential from this point on because of this new technology. So it's me on the bandwagon, absolutely. So the next best thing to do is, how can we construct what is going to be a global understanding of what is our norms around this? What can we do that is now an ethical thing that we could globally embrace? What can we say now is too far versus this is okay application? So I think now we need to finesse the ethics statements, put that into some sort of global law. Is that going to look like a UN proposition that we all have to ratify? Probably. That's what I'm thinking.
So as we look at the whole thing, and then, of course, you see the rise of AI, and then we're seeing now humanoids, and just in case, the robot aspect of it, of some of the things. And I know that you just referenced incorporating cameras, unless they're there all the time, being able to see stuff. Do you look at it, this might be part of the standard that goes forward, where there are these robots that are maybe potentially walking around, recording what's going on in real time, where it can acquire additional data?
They probably will. That's the next logical step, right? Because honestly, you want to, if you're a person who's going to want to help people walk in the future, you're going to want to be that person that's going to help someone who might need to have technology go defuse a bomb and not you. At that point, you're probably going to want to see that stuff really advance and replace a human in certain stages. But at that point, this is the ethics statements. Are we going to start building in fail-safes in that new equipment? Is it going to be regulated that we're going to build some sort of thing that is a hard limiter that says this thing can't, like some of the old sci-fi movies, it can't take a human life, right? That's always the thing that the sci-fi writers know to put in, right? So maybe we might have to do some sort of regulation that says if you build technology that does this, you are now illegal, not just in the U.S., but this is a global thing. And that's the scary part about AI. It's going to force us to globally play nice. Yeah.
Well, playing nice is good, but I mean, I it's kind of interesting because I just look at like some of those dystopian future movies about how all these things, the rise of the machines, the turn against, we'll even go Terminator with Skynet and all that kind of fun stuff. And because it's so new, but how much things have changed so quickly with it. It's just amazing on when you start taking a look at the technology and everything that's able to do. So I don't know. I would love. I would
exponential growth, because you're actually seeing it from, when we first got started with the chat. There's no way you could ask it to do a simulation or a picture for you, right? They're not there yet at that first point, but now you literally have all the other AIs pop up, and now one specializes in images and one specializes in this, and that makes the growth exponential. So from the first time any of you heard about AI to maybe you talked to someone yesterday, I bet you've noticed that, wow, we could do that too. And that's the growth.
Well, what I've seen a couple of people do is go out there and actually make their own versionality of a chat box. So meaning that all of a sudden, if I want to access whoever's running the website, and if they focus mostly on safety, they have we'll say a data dump that went into there. So if you ask it or prompt it for a question, which I think that's another conversation to have, where people need to really understand on how to prompt these machines.
Yes.
But when you prompt it, it gives you information as if you were interacting with either the literature that the person has put out or the information they would have provided to a client. Do you see that being a kind of a bigger step as we move forward? Do you think that those will be paywall behind, or do you think that people will put those in front of the paywall just to kind of get them to next service level?
Yeah, there's always going to be that call to action, So most people are probably going to do some sort of tiered way to monetize, and honestly, there's hardly any way around it. The only thing that you could do is possibly get governmental type of access to some of these things, like in your local library, or, some type of free type of service. And then also you have those people who will let you do the tip jar, and they will be the developers. So I think that's going to be part of the future there. Overall, though, I think that the training is still the scaling part. How AI learns is honestly the input. So now that it has so many users, the training is going to be more niched. So when it understands real small, complex micro communities, now it's going to end up getting even smarter. So again, that's going to help everything. If there's a way you can include a product or a service, I've actually even used it for risk analysis, and I think that's going to be the future of actual regulation. You can now get a risk analysis done with the help of AI with certain situations, because now you could actually put in data of injury and illness reports. You could pick out the risk analysis, and whatever that bow tie or whatever the analysis is, at that point, you could start getting a frequency of understanding. If this happens now in this type of environment, this is the smart regulation we should do. It's frequency. So if we notice that there's a lot of amputation in manufacturing, OSHA right now is looking at that by the OSHA 300 logs that happened. But you plug this information into AI, they can now reason out that says, all right, you've got this type of cutting machine and this type of activity. This worker is probably not prone to doing a lockout tagout program because of this other data. Now we need to regulate this industry, and that's the future.
So the future there, and you referencing the OSHA 300 logs, for the most part, a good chunk of the larger scale GPTs in the world, or the AIs in the world as we're talking, do not have live access to the internet. As we look at this and being able to get information and garner information in real time on how it's able to recognize risk, do you see that changing, where we'll have to access internet in real time, opposed to it being, I don't even know how long it's delayed, because that's the other portion. Because if we use ChatGPT, because that's probably one of the most popular ones, it used to be months that it was delayed, or it was old databases that it was pulling from. And it still tells you currently, even with the paid version, that it cannot access it in real time. So will that need to be the change going into the future?
Yeah, that's actually part of the change. And the data drawback would be the Request for Information Act. So when someone does the Request for Information Act, the agency now gets that information, and they try to get it to you as quickly as they can. Sometimes they don't. So that little drawback made it a little bit harder for you to get that information out to the public. But OSHA is slightly different with the record keeping, and that's why I mentioned it before. The Record Keeping Act, when this got changed back in the Biden administration, and for those of you that don't know, this has been really a wild thing. So the OSHA rules for injury and illnesses gives a certain criteria that says this is a recordable injury. This one, forget about that. So they give you specific rules. This is in 1904 is OSHA's regulation book on that one. So when you go over those different rules, one of the things that it tells you that you really need to be aware of is something that is a recordable injury that makes people that going to miss a day, going to be restricted or transferred from working in the field into the office. So OSHA has this record keeping rule that records every time this happens, and you are recording it yourself if you're a high-risk individual or in an industry, not individual. You could be a high-risk individual too. Both, but the industry itself. So not to go into the weeds too much, but what will happen is once you self-report, that goes into OSHA's database. The only thing they're going to protect is the personal information about who was injured. The situation is not going to be protected. So the OSHA 300 logs now goes to the regional office, the local office. They see your number, your company, by your employee identification number. That's like a fingerprint of your company. So they now know companies that have 3 years is the magic number according to the OSHA data. 3 years, once they see you get an increase of injuries and illnesses, that's going to trigger an inspection. Now, if you do an AI component to this, they could actually begin to believe you're going to do this in a regular frequency. Now it comes, is OSHA going to wait till something happens, or are they going to go ahead and be proactive and create a regulation? That's when OSHA is going to use AI.
How far away do you think we are from that? Because as you know, and I'm not picking on OSHA because remember, I had friends in OSHA during the previous administration. So they're kind of behind when it comes to certain things. Do you see that? So do you see this during this term for?
No, it won't be in this term. OSHA has, again, predictable patterns. So the pattern right now is, from what I'm seeing, is if OSHA gets midterm election is going to make a big difference. So for the U.S., every 2 years there's midterm elections. So if we get a big change in the House or the Senate in midterm election in 2 years, then in 4 years, OSHA could actually be set up already. The data is in existence. They have it. They just need the right regulation to release the data. You could go right now to OSHA.gov and you could manipulate stuff on the data and statistics page like you'll never believe. And it's really there. So just go to OSHA.gov/data and you could just go nuts with data and statistics. So it's there. The only thing that they're waiting for is to connect the two pieces. So the only will to do that is with the injury in illness injury prevention program, the I2P2, right? We can't say that. So if I2P2 comes in effect, that's the connecting piece. The federal OSHA has been trying to do it for a long time. So you get a president that's not a lame duck Democratic president that could possibly repeat a nice young president that's, one of these people that are going to be very, charismatic, if you would, like an Obama. Possibility during that administration, you could see that piece connect.
So, I mean, it's interesting because if you look at, you say, nice young president-elect, the last three, because we had two of the same over the last three, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see on how those things will change. But then we can just take these deep dive into politics, which I'm not 100% sure that's what I want to do. So tell us, I mean, you gave us a lot of good information there. Tell us what you're working on currently. Or I know a tidbit of it, but not enough to be dangerous. So what are you working on? I've
been a prolific writer as of late. That's my Mexico trip. It helped me write a little. So I'm coming out with a free ebook that's going to help us with the trends of 2025. I had to do a quick change from what it was before election. So I am currently changing one chapter, but I'm going to release that probably my next episode and with the 300. So after that, I am working on, as you said, an AI prompt book. I'm already on that one. I'm couple of chapters away. Ta-da. And then I am also going back to coaching. So I revamped my consulting coaching program so that the people who really feel like they're ready to be consultants, I've got some tips, and it's been really hard for me to mentor people the way I have been one-on-one and scale it. So I have created a way to scale this mentorship program, and it's going to be structured as a 3-month and a 6-month to do it justice. And then truly, if you're starting your consulting business, I'll work with you the first 3 months. I'll work with you the first 6 months, up to you. And then you're off, and you're going to be sharing resources with me. So that's the twist.
So talk to them a little bit. If someone's out there that's interested in becoming a safety consultant, they're saying, hey, this is the next step in my career. What would you say to them that needs to be the bare minimum? Like, what should be the bare minimum understanding? Because just to kind of explain how your program works, do they need to have any background in safety? Or is this kind of like, hey, I just graduated, I know nothing. Can we start?
I actually have an actual intake sheet. So I'm looking for the fit. I'm not looking for anybody who just think they're in safety. So the idea is I want someone who is they know that they are ready for safety consulting. They've been through all of the steps that it would take, such as boots on the ground safety. Next step is going to be supervising people. And next step is going to be controlling a program. So if you have that in any kind of capacity and you feel you're ready because you now know that you have what it takes to stick around, even when things look bad, that's when you know you're ready. When you feel like, I'm going to just go and just give myself a chance. I've given someone else a chance long enough. I'm going to just roll the dice on me. That's when you're ready. So the intake form is just to help both of us understand if you're ready for it, and then am I ready to take on someone that fits this profile. So it's a two-way street.
So would we say, quote unquote, they need to have X amount of years of experience prior to attempting to contact you in regards if they want to be involved with this?
No certain amount of years. You're going to know by your qualifications, right? So meaning if you got out of school and you're just hitting it out of the park with all these issues that have been coming up, and the organization that you're with, they just keep promoting you. They keep telling you, hey, man, you're doing it. And you know in your mind, you're like, I could do this a little bit better on my own.
Well, remember, there's some people that get put into safety because it's a torture program. We don't have anybody else. We're moving you over there. So let's remember those people.
I got a whole bunch of students that just got injured and now they're in safety. I've got a boatload of students for that one. So honestly, it's just, you know that you've put in some dues to this. And the reason why I say put in some dues is honestly, you're going to be thinking about insurance, right? That's part of being a good consultant. You need to get insured. You need to get your license and bonding. If you have error and omissions, you're going to get your insurance to pick that up, but you don't want to have many errors and omission or your business isn't going to be good. So obviously, in order for you to be a good consultant, you got to be solid in safety and have some sort of career enough that you know that you have critical thinking skills. So that's really what I'm doing. And when I get everybody on, I do just very easy Sheldon.coach. that's the easiest domain name I could think of, Sheldon.coach. So, and then you can just do the intake form. I read every intake form, obviously, and I want to make sure that we're a good fit. I'm not going to charge someone to coach them if we're not a good fit and I feel like they're not going to give me their all, they're going to quit halfway. Nobody needs that. I want you to knock it off the park because you're attached to my name.
So let's talk real quick. So will you go through the whole process? So let's say, for instance, I just finished working at a company. I'm really encouraged on wanting to become a safety consultant. Will you show the person how to create their own business, what paperwork needs to be filled out? I know it varies from state to state a little bit, but will you go through that whole process?
Start to finish, because honestly, most people are scared about the start starting part. And I believe you should start like right now. Honestly, the best time to start is yesterday. The next best time is now, right? Whoever said that, brilliant. So at this point, I believe if everyone were to at least get started with their whatever it is, if you want to do an S Corp or LLC, we talk you through that. And the first 3-month session is to get not only you started, get your business going, but it's also going to get you the things that you need to hit the ground running. You know, you got to get a Facebook account for a business. You need your LinkedIn account for business. You need to learn how to work Facebook ads and LinkedIn ads and Google ads and things like that. You need to know about what are cookies and what do I have to do with pixels and what's my business pixels. All that stuff is just to hit the ground running. What do I do with social media? How do I gain clients? Where do I look for them? We do that first. The next 3 months after you get the foundation, now we're looking for how do we grow? So what are some things we could do for exponential growth? Marketing concerns. What kind of services and products do I need to add to the business for the downtimes? So we talk about that, how to run your own events, how to actually do some of the things that you guys have been listening to me do, you know, even down to making a radio broadcast, you know, that kind of stuff to grow the business. This is the second 3 months. And each week it's lesson time. You learned from me. We do this together, and every 2 weeks we're going to have a conversation, and we're going to talk on the phone for 2 weeks or for 2 hours, and we're going to just figure out an hour and a half, 2 hours. You let me know, and we're going to figure out how did it go the last 2 weeks. This is the assignment for the next 2 weeks. Let's knock it out the park. And week by week, we've got special things we're going to focus on. 1 week, we'll get your advertising all set up. The next week, we're going to get you guys actually, you know, set up with how to find clients. What's the email sequence that I need to keep people, keep myself top of mind? That's the stuff that we'll be doing.
I think I love exactly how you have that layout going on, because I think that some of the consulting stuff that I've seen, the follow-up is the crucial part, and a lot of people will not do it unless it's very high tier priced in regards to the setup itself. So if I'm going from the transition of being an employee to being a consultant, this is what I want to do. I know you've had several conversations about this, but what are the mental models that need to change from employee to my own business? Yeah. And probably tie in there, if you don't mind, that they're not going to be a Fortune 500 business the moment they decide to leave where they're working to where they're going.
That's one of the first things you got to figure out is, what does life look like when you're 100% by yourself and in charge of your life? Usually it looks like somebody who's going to say, all right, I get to sleep in. You know, that's the first thing I hear. It's like, I wish. To sleep in. And that's usually the last thing you get to do. You don't get to sleep in. So the first thing to do is, while you're still working, imagine what the day looks like. Imagine what time your alarm's going to go off. Imagine what's the first thing. Are you going to go for your coffee first? You're going to do your run first. Just imagine what that lifestyle looks like. Imagine that you're 10 o'clock, and what's the 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock hours look like? Is that recording? Is that marketing? Is that me following up? So that's the first step, is really imagine it. And if it feels true to you, now the next step is grab a hold of your partner. Whoever your partner is, they got to be involved with you. So you don't want to get too many steps along without your partner. So if you're single, forget this step. Talk to your dog. Let the dog and the cat know that they're going to have to worry about feeding a little later, because you're going to be busy. But if you're got a partner, step 2, partner's got to be involved. You're going to give them the plan. The stuff you just visualized, you're going to talk to them and you're going to let them know this is the plan. They will trust you if you could see it. So you got to tell your partner the plan. And if you want to do year 1, year 2, year 3, do it that way. Or this is the first 3 months. This is what the next 3 months look like. And that's the first thing. Step 3, and I know we've given you a bunch already, but the step 3 is keep the job. Don't go ahead and say, I'm out, deuces. You don't want to do that, okay? Keep the job. What you want to do now is use your vacation time, use your sick time if you want to go ahead and do that. Shh, I won't tell. It's Vegas. So use your sick time, any of that stuff. And that's when you're going to do your trainings. That's when you're going to reach out and do your mock OSHA audits for someone who's a business friend or someone who is a cousin, someone who has a business in your church. You're going to start with them, and you're going to do services and training for them just on your own, and test it out a little. Let your partner see that you're making money in that way. Let your plan be that, okay, next year, we're in 2025, I could put in my notice, January of 2026. Do something like that during this time period. So those are the first things that can get you going. The next few steps you guys could get in safetyconsultantblueprint.com. How's that?
Well, I remember years and years ago, you told me something, and ever since I heard you say that, I repeat it to other people. I credit you for referencing it. But if you're contemplating on doing a business, you told me at that time that what you tell people is to start the business now.
Yes.
Regardless of it's going to be a year or two later where you're going to do it full force, because you start having that amount of time that shows that you've been a business owner. Is that still the practice that you tell people?
Yeah, absolutely. Look at anybody now. If you want to go and you're trying to figure out, all right, what restaurant do I want to go to? And you look up Google and you're looking at the reviews, and one says this restaurant was actually founded in 2021, or this restaurant was founded in 1920. You're probably going to be like, wow, that restaurant's been around so long, it's got to be good. Yeah, so that's the same thing with your business. You see those businesses that have the born on dates and their T-shirts or whatever. The older the date, the more you trust them. So right now, the psychological game starts. You want the client to think of you as a trusted person. So it's a psychological game as well. So the longer you could age your company ahead of time, do it. It's just going to help you long term. And there's also some implications to that, because if you now have your company, those are some things that you could apply for loans, you could get your bank account, you could do whatever you need to do to start separating your money from company money. So that's another reason too.
So if you have somebody that's out there right now that's teeter-tottering, they're not sure what to do, what would be the encouragement to them in regards of either moving forward or not moving forward? Because let's be realistic, this is not for everyone.
Yep.
It's one of those things that you have to be committed to this path if that's what you want to do. And if you're not, that's perfectly fine. I mean, I'm not saying one's good and one isn't, or vice versa. I mean, this is not for everyone, because you have to make sure that you're a go-getter in regards to generating some of the business. So what if they're teeter-tottering, what would you tell them?
Yeah, if you're teeter-tottering, that means that you're making a mental, psychological, decision that is pretty much a mixture of, this is what I want to do, but this is what makes sense. So that's usually what you're the teetering and the tottering, those two sides, right? So the deciding factor is this: what signs has the universe been giving you? Usually it's a quiet nudge at first, or some silent thing like, I could do this. And then all of a sudden you're going to have 2, 3, 4 people come by and say, man, you'd be good as a consultant. And then the next thing would be someone who is just as deep into business as you are, as a competitor or someone else, and they're into their safety their safety officer job, and they quit and become a consultant. And you're like, ooh, I think I could do this. And then all of a sudden you now are probably going to be put in a situation that says, I don't want to be put in too many of these situations. And you start thinking in your head and you start making the plan. That's when you have to figure out, it started with a little thought. Now I'm getting put in situations. That's the universe yelling at you. So if you get a lot of those situations where you just feel the universe is yelling at you for change, you got to listen. Those are the people that I want.
So let me ask the strange question, because it's going to come up. where does the money factor? Would that be part of the reason of the teeter-totter? Because remember, if you're working at an employer and they're an established employer,
Yep.
you normally have pretty good income that comes in, you expect it every 2 weeks, once a month, whatever it is. But starting off as a new business,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little nerve-wracking because you don't know where that first meal is going to come from.
Yeah, absolutely. And I did it wrong, I guess, because on my side, I left the job, took my severance, and also cashed out my 401A because I was government. So I cashed that out, and that was my seed money for the business. So literally, if you're thinking Vegas, I put it all down, right? I'm like, I got everything riding on this. So that's a lot of risk. We're looking at risk reward. So if you're doing that type of calculation, some people could do that calculation because they may have already landed someone that promised them a big job right away and said, their first client is going to supplement their income. Some people could do that. So if you're not that type of person, what you're going to do is you're going to do the soft launch. So one thing at a time and let that gain some money and then do the next thing. So usually the soft launch will start with family and friends, helping them with their businesses, trying to find written programs you could do for them, do mock OSHA audits you could do for them, or if you're U.S. based, get the 10 and 30-hour training for general industry and construction. Easiest way to get into an organization is if you could do the 10 and 30-hour training in construction and general industry. Some people, especially if you're in states that require that card for business and for work, you now have a driver. So what you're doing during this time period as you age your company is you're looking for drivers that are going to sustain you as an independent contractor. It's different for every specialty. And then the other thing you're looking for is how can I get some way of making myself more marketable when I'm on my own? What that will look like is you probably going for every training you can and having the employer pay for it until you get out of business. So am I telling you to do that as a fraud? No, I'm just telling you that's how I see it happen.
I'm not disagreeing or agreeing, but I understand where you're coming from. That's for sure. So Sheldon, if people want to hear more about you, find out more about you, where can they go?
Well, generally, if you're a podcast listener, you're going to look up Safety Consultant with Sheldon Primus. Me and Jay were just talking about it. I refer to it as the Safety Consultant Show, but if you're looking for it on any service, it's going to be Safety Consultant with Sheldon Primus. That's the full name of the show. You get me there. For consulting, actually, you could email me, which is, I broke my website, sheldonprimus.com, and I broke it good. So I'm trying to put it back together, and I'm probably going to hire somebody, but I'm cheap. I don't want to hire anybody. I want to do it myself. So, but the email's still good. So Sheldon at sheldonprimus.com. You'll see the sheldonprimus.com show up in January, but I'm going to get that back. And if you're looking to do consulting, then you want to go to sheldon.coach.
Well, Sheldon, I appreciate you coming on.
No, thank you, my friend. This has been awesome.
That's a wrap for today's safety show. Remember, safety isn't just about hard hats and caution signs. It's about business smarts too. Thanks for joining us on the Safety Consultant Show with Sheldon Primus. Until next time, stay safe, stay savvy, and keep consulting like a boss. Go get 'em. The views and opinions expressed on this podcast or broadcast are those of the host and its guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within the past hour, only examples. It should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the positions of the company. No part of this podcast or broadcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast or broadcast, Sheldon Primus.
This episode has been powered by Safety FM.
You got into the safety business because you wanted to protect people. But somewhere along the way, the job started controlling your time, your schedule, your priorities, even your income potential. What if the expertise you've built over the years in the field can give you something more? More freedom, more control, more ownership of your future. I'm Sheldon Primus, the author of 7 Steps to Starting a Profitable Safety Consulting Business and the host of the Safety Consultant Podcast, with more than 350 episodes helping safety professionals become consultants and grow their career. Consulting changed my life. In fact, I'm a full-time RVer, and one consulting contract paid for my home I live in today. Now, I help safety professionals build their own consulting practice through bi-weekly coaching calls, accountability, and personal guidance. But this program isn't for everyone. Start with the Consultant Readiness Audit at sheldon.coach.
What if everything we thought we knew about safety was just interference? From the host of the Rated R Safety Show and the founder of Safety FM comes the complete Signal Transmission Trilogy, now available in one powerful edition. Safety, in my opinion, the book that started the conversation. Safety Mutation, where the boundaries of culture, systems, and belief begin to break. And now, Safety Transmission, the final piece of the signal. For the first time, all 3 books are together in one volume. The Signal Transmission Trilogy, Complete Edition. This isn't just about compliance. It's about consciousness. It's about decoding the way we think, lead, and live, inside and outside the system. Whether you've been following the signal since the beginning or you're just now tuning in, this is the version to own. Search Signal Trilogy on Amazon or visit safetyfm.com to get your copy now.